A former chairman of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Klein, says Tokyo Electric Power Company will not be able to sustain itself without reforming its management. The operator of the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant has come under fire since the accident in March of last year. Klein spoke to NHK after the first meeting of a panel of outside experts set up by TEPCO to improve nuclear safety and corporate management. Klein is the head of the 5-member panel.
I think the fact that they established this committee demonstrates an awareness that they need to change. And I think they understand that at the top management, and then they need to communicate that clearly to all their workers.
Klein said that prior to the accident, TEPCO had become overly confident and did not question the safety of its nuclear plants. He said the company was apparently underestimating the power of nature. Prior to the meeting, Klein visited the Fukushima Daiichi plant and checked the number 4 reactor. It is feared that the reactor could develop further problems in the event of another earthquake. Klein said that based on his observations of the reactor's fuel pool and available information, he thinks the building is safe and can withstand earthquakes. He said the widespread uncertainty among the Japanese public about the pool was caused by early misinformation that it contained no water. Klein added that TEPCO should allow an investigation by an external body, such as the International Atomic Energy Agency.
You bred raptors.
It's an admission that contradicts everything the company has maintained so far, that Japan's nuclear disaster could actually have been avoided. In a report released by the Tokyo Electric Power Company, which runs the Fukushima nuclear plant, it found that, when looking back on the accident, the problem was that preparations were not made in advance. It feared that if tsunami risk studies were disclosed, that it would lead to immediate plant shutdown. And there was concern that if new severe accident measures were implemented, it could spread concern in the siting community that there is a problem with the safety of current plants. The company also said it feared legal and political consequences if it highlighted that accident measures were needed. TEPCO had always insisted it was prepared for the tsunami disaster in March of last year, but this report also criticizes the emergency response, citing a lack of expertise and confusing orders from company headquarters and the office of the Prime Minister.
This comes on the back of actually several issues. One is that recently about 90% of the Japanese populace have indicated that they are against nuclear energy in Japan. And in addition to that, there is the popular perception as well that there was too much of a cozy relationship or collusion between the plant operators and also the regulators, which enabled this type of lax environment to arise whereby the disaster occurred.
There are now far more stringent safety laws in place as a result of last year's disaster, but the Fukushima plant is not alone when it comes to not being adequately prepared. The European Commission released a report earlier this month where it found that practically all the 130 active nuclear reactors in Europe need safety overhauls at the cost of around $32 billion. The Fukushima plant will now be dismantled, but it's estimated that the cleanup will last decades and cost Japan billions of dollars. All the people of the area will also need to be compensated. And now it seems all of it was entirely preventable. Stephanie Decker, AlJazerra.
Japan's ruling Democratic Party plans to set up 4 working groups to accelerate the recovery of areas affected by last year's nuclear accident in Fukushima. Policy Research Council Chief Goshi Hosono announced the plan on Saturday. The 4 teams will each be assigned a separate task. The first team will work on supporting local people's lives. The second is promoting decontamination work. The third is protecting sales of farm products from unfounded rumors. And fourth is creating new communities for evacuees living outside their hometowns. The team members will visit affected areas, talk to local people and find out what they most urgently need. Then the teams will make proposals based on the research and assist the government in implementing them.
Japan's government says it will work with the World Bank and use its human resources and technology to contribute to global disaster management. The government submitted the statement to the IMF World Bank Development Committee on Saturday in Tokyo. The statement says last year's earthquake and tsunami reminded the world community of the importance of disaster risk management. The government says it will cooperate with the World Bank and spare no effort in building a world more resilient to disaster by leveraging its expertise, technology and skilled personnel. The Development Committee meeting effectively marks the end of major events at the first IMF World Bank gathering held in Japan in 48 years.
申し訳ありませんが、現金をお持ちの方、貸していただけないでしょうか。よろしくお願いします。
あと今日ヘリコプターで飛ぶ人いるのかな。ヘリコプターで飛ぶ人誰ですか。本店。役割は現金。
電源は失われ、2号機と3号機にも迫るメルトダウンの危機。原子炉を冷却するためには車のバッテリーをつなぎ合わせて弁を動かすしかなかった。しかし命綱のバッテリーを買う現金すらなかったのだ。ようやく10時間後、
本店から、相当多額のお金を持ってオフサイトセンターに1人向かわしています。
はい。
オフサイトセンターに現金がある状態が今晩ぐらいから生まれるんで、ご活用ください。お願いします。
それは借用書書けば貸してくれるってことなんですね。
信用貸しといたしましょう。
はいはい、わかりました。
お願いします。
ありがとうございます。
ところがすでに第一原発から20キロ圏内には避難指示が出ていた。近くには開いている店がなかった。
私どもも地元で調達しようというふうには努力してるんですが、なんせ岩国に行くまで6時間ぐらいどうも今かかっているようなんで、ぜひ本店さんにもご協力いただけたらと思いますので。
今日うちの方で岩木方面にバッテリー買いに行ったんですけども、はい、どこも買えませんでした。
明日また買い出しに行きますので、ホームセンター等で手に入るようなもので何かご希望のものがあればリストを持って口頭では構いませんから資材班の方までお越しください。
物資の補給はホームセンターへの買い出し。世界最悪の原発事故現場とは思えないやり取りが続く。第一原発ではすでに1号機は爆発。2号機でも原子炉を冷やすため海水を注入する必要に迫られていた。しかし内部が錆び廃炉になる可能性があるため、東京電力にとっては最後の手段と言えた。
苦渋の決断ということでしょうか。
とにかく安全の今できることをやるということで、そちらを最優先という判断。
東電幹部はあくまで安全確保を優先し、海水注入をためらうことはないとしていた。だが実際は
本店から射出がましいんですけど、2号をですね、海水からいきなりやるような風に聞こえてきていて、これは
海水からやりますよ。
いきなり海水っていうのはそのまま材料腐っちゃったりしてもったいないので、なるべく粘って真水を待つっていう選択肢もあるというふうに理解していいんでしょうか。
理解していけなくて、今から真水というのはないんです。時間が遅れます。また言いたいのは真水でやっといた方が要するに塩にやられないから後で使えるということでしょ、
そういうことです。
この後に及んでも第一原発を再び使おうと考えていた東電本店。これに対し吉田所長は、
圧倒的に多量必要な時にやっぱり真水にこだわってるとえらい大変なんですよ。はい、この状況でいけばもうこの海水いかざるを得ないと考えてる。
それでも諦めきれないのか、東電本店側は1時間後にも
いかにももったいないなって感じがするんですけどね。
いやもう今から水源切り替えてたらもうそれこそ時間がいくらあっても足りないということ。
他にもビデオによって浮き彫りになった姿があった。
もう一つニュースが入りました。福島第一原発の3号機で先ほど午前11時1分水素爆発が発生しました。
3月14日3号機が爆発した直後、東電本店内では
本日11時1分に3号機原子炉建屋で再度大きな、これ再度はいらないですね、大きな音が発生し、発煙が発生しました。
1号機に続く建屋の爆発。広報文や会見でどういう言葉で表現するのか迫られていた。
要はさ、1号機を3号機に変えただけだって言うんでしょ。それで、水素爆発かどうか分かんないけど、もう国がなんかファインが水素爆発って言ってるから、もういいんじゃないの、この水素爆発で。
可能性ということで、
ファインがさっきテレビで水素爆発って言ってたけど、でファインのやつは言ってたと思うんだけど、ちょっとお茶はした方がいいと思うよ。
じゃあ水素爆発だけで絞ってよろしいですか。
最後は清水社長が後押しした。
いかがでしょうか。
はい、いいです。これでいいから。はい、もうスピード。ゴーサインです。スピード勝負。
そして実際この直後に開いた会見では。
実際にどこが爆発をしたかということについては、確認をしておりますので、確認ができ次第速やかにご報告申し上げます。またこの爆発、水素爆発ということでございます。
事故当時の混乱ぶりなど映像から初めて分かった事実も多い。政府事故庁や国会事故庁も最終報告書をすでにまとめているが、何を教訓として学び今後に生かすのか。例えば国会事故庁は国会に新たな調査委員会を作るよう求めているが、国会には具体的な動きはない。
3月11日に発生した東日本大震災による福島第一原発事故である。地震の翌日、3月12日に1号機、14日に3号機が爆発。この事故で放出されたセシウムは広島原爆の 168.5 倍にも上り、現在も半径 20km 以内の立ち入りは制限されている。この事故により起こった高濃度の放射能汚染は将来にわたって日本だけでなく世界の人々の健康に大きな影を投げかけた。
If you are exposed to radioactivity and also in a rather big quantity, you have mutations in your DNA, or at least this risk is increased. And these mutations in your DNA, in your genetic material, is a risk factor to get certain diseases, especially certain kinds of cancer, like leukemia, for example.
So there are some government studies, which are always underestimated, that there would be 225,000 cases of cancer from this. Cancer hits the cells which are replicating faster. So of course a young child is growing faster than an older person. And so there's much more ability for the radiation to cause cancer in a young child than an older person. It's the same with the pregnant woman who's creating a magical experience within her. And that's very susceptible to radiation.
The Emperor and Empress traveled to a village in Fukushima Prefecture on Saturday. They visited people living in temporary housing due to radiation from the damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. The imperial couple visited Kawauchi village, where work to remove radioactive materials began last month. They watched workers use high-pressure water spray to clean rooftops. They also met people living in temporary housing. Nearly 100 people have returned to the village but are unable to return to their homes located within 20 kilometers of the nuclear plant. Residents said they were very grateful that the imperial couple came to meet them and offered words of encouragement.
They asked me if I need anything or whether I'm sick. They were so kind.
I was so moved, I couldn't say a word.
Only 1/4 of Kawauchi's population of 3,000 has come back, despite the village office's plea for its residents to return.